So Bob has put me on the spot because he said that I have good news, so I have to maybe start off with some good news. And I always say that when we talk about our anti-GM struggles, we have to always put it into perspective and not think and look at the overwhelming challenges only, but also at our successes. So one of the big successes for us in Africa is that out of 54 countries on the continent, only 3 grow GM crops. Okay? And that's South Africa, where I'm from, and we grow about 2 million hectares combined of maize, soybeans, and cotton. But the bummer there is that the maize is a staple and everything is GM. Okay? Burkina Faso used to be, until recently when there's been a coup, a dictatorship for the last 30 or so years. And the introduction of GM cotton was very easy through unofficial channels, and the small farmers grew for cotton for a couple of years, not more than 500,000 hectares, but it's been a dismal flop. Okay, and the farmers are now taking Monsanto to court, so that's not a success for Monsanto in any way. And then they've reported that they grow some cotton in Sudan. And we know that it's very difficult to get information, particularly from South Sudan, because of the conflict there. So I don't think that Monsanto is in any position to claim any victory over Africa in terms of GM. That's the first thing. So I've been asked to just talk to you about the Australian connection with Africa. And as Bob has said, there are 2 projects with a very direct and strong Australian connection. One is in regard to a genetically modified banana, which is very much like the golden rice project, okay? Because it's different to the current GMOs on the market that are designed to enhance agronomic performance. This is about increasing beta-carotene in the banana so that it will increase the uptake of vitamin A in the body. So that's the argument. And a project started already in 2007 in Uganda, where there's no biosafety law, nothing in place to regulate GM. And a project funded by the Gates Foundation with several public research partners, including your Queensland University of Technology, Professor Dale. Now what sets this project apart from other GM initiatives is that it's funded by Gates, that's capitalist philanthropy, but the partners are all public research institutions, so there's no corporate insight. So you've got your Professor Dale from Queensland University, you've got NARO, the National Agriculture Research Organization from Uganda, then you have other public research institutions involved from the US, so they can sell this as a wholly publicly driven initiative aimed at providing some much needed relief for poor Ugandan farmers and Ugandan communities. But it's not demand driven. No Ugandans have asked for it. The consumers haven't asked for it. They have no idea that this is on the boil. And that's why we titled the talk Colonialism, because it's very top-down. Decisions were made in some boardroom with Gates, with a couple of research professors, and deciding, well, Ugandans need a GM banana. And this is a multifaceted case because it involves the genetic engineering on the part of Australian scientists, but Adam will talk more about the biopiracy aspect of taking genes from other banana species belonging to indigenous and other communities in other parts of the world. The field trials have been conducted in Australia and in Uganda. In Uganda, under a shroud of secrecy, unregulated, no one can gain access to any information. No food safety studies have been conducted, and we've got this in writing. And the worst part of it all is that they are conducting feeding studies on 20 young American female students. So it's all these layers, you know. You Uganda, Australia, the US, biopiracy, multifaceted challenges but opportunities for us at the same time, for alliance building and solidarity. But just to also describe the unethical nature of feeding an untested, potentially toxic GM banana to uninformed students, and they're offering them $900 for the test. So there's been a lot of resistance in the US by a group of students, and they've asked, the trials have been conducted at the Iowa State University, so again, public research institution. So you see the pattern. And they've asked the researchers involved to come to a dialogue so that they could debate the safety issues, and they refused. So that's, you know, some of the issues. Now, the Gates Foundation, I looked at a little organogram earlier about the pivotal role USAID is playing in the whole pro-GM machinery in Africa and Asia, but the Gates Foundation is playing a very, very central role, not only in pushing genetically modified food in Africa and other parts of the world, but through AGRA, the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, it's transforming African agriculture from small-scale farmer-based to corporate industrial agriculture. But AGRA doesn't promote GM. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation as a foundation is funding GM. So they talk with a forked tongue when it comes to GM on the continent. But I think that the whole idea about pushing GM banana in Africa is to soften the scientific community and the resistance on the part of African governments, because the scientists can't say no to foreign investments coming in, the opportunities to wine and dine with the corporates, with other researchers, and they have formed a very strong lobby group in many countries to change biosafety laws, for example in Tanzania, to weaken strict liability rules to allow GM research to take place. So I think that it's kind of a Trojan horse to open up Africa to the commercial crops of interest to the corporates. That's how we're looking at it, because the introduction of GM commercial crops will follow the transformation of the value chains for the introduction of non-GM commercial seed, like maize or cotton. So I think that they have a two-pronged approach. So that's GM banana. Then we come to GM cowpea. Unfortunately, Australian scientists are very busy with Africa. I don't know how many of you know about cowpea, but it's an indigenous crop, it's a woman's crop. It's grown by millions of farmers, particularly in West Africa. They liken it to eating meat. You know, it's meat for the hungry, because it's early maturing, it's drought resistant, it's nitrogen fixing, you can intercrop it with maize. It's just a miracle crop. And this cowpea has been genetically engineered by your CSIRO. Okay, and it's also it's funded by Rockefeller Foundation, USAID, and then there's a African organization called African Agriculture Technology Foundation. They get like $100 million at a time from Gates and the corporates, and they like the common denominator in both the GM banana and the GM cowpea project. And Gates funds AATF, so they may not fund the cowpea project directly, but they do it through AATF. And so the cowpea is being transformed using a donated technology by Monsanto. And Monsanto says, are we giving this BT gene on humanitarian grounds? We're giving it royalty-free. But we all know it's come off patent a long time ago. It's been disused in South Africa because of massive insect resistance. And the idea is to introduce BT cowpea in Nigeria, Ghana, Burkina Faso, and Malawi. And the trials are very far advanced. In Ghana, Nigeria, and Burkina Faso, they hope to commercialize next year and to bring a commercial release application this year. So the big challenge is to address that, and there's already a court case pending in Ghana by a group called Food Sovereignty Ghana. Wonderful young people. I tell you, these young people are really inspiring. I mean, even the students in the US have led the campaign against GM, the feeding trials at the university. So I really think the opportunity to link up with our youth who really know how to work the social media, how to build alliances. They're fearless. They've got the energy we no longer have. So I really think that they've been wonderful in Ghana. They've just knocked our socks off. So there is resistance building, but I think we need more support. I think we need the support of the Australian activists, because I know that speaking to activists, Jennifer Fran, they've told me that your CSIRO is a well-respected research institution. So I think that we need to challenge them. We need to say that there's resistance, that we don't want GM cowpea, we don't want our heritage contaminated, we don't want our germplasm taken out of the hands of farmers, because our farming systems on the rest of the continent, leaving South Africa alone, is what we call based on farmer-managed seed systems, where farmers farm based on the basis that they exchange recycle seeds. They refresh seeds by exchanging with neighbors. They do seed selection and breeding. It's a vibrant system that works, but it needs to be supported. So the one criticism, the one big problem we have with this kind of GM research is that it diverts all the good research capacity in Africa away from research in the public interest, the research that small farmers want. They want to have some support around how do they deal with storage issues, post-harvest storage. How do they deal with accessing better markets? How can they collaborate with researchers in a public-private public farmer partnerships to bring better varieties in the hands of local farmers into the farming systems and not GM. So just hundreds of millions of dollars are being diverted that could be put at the disposal of smallholder farmers, food production systems in Africa, and even your public funding, your own taxation is going to funding research not in the public interest, that we don't need, that we don't want, that we utterly reject, and it's not good for us. It will undermine our sovereignty. And I'm not saying that African farming systems are not in need of support and that everything is fine back home. I'm not saying that. I know that there's a lot of inequity. There's been a lot of transformation as a result of structural adjustment, a lot of investment in cash crops, plantation crops. There are problems, but solutions like this reductionist solutions, the techno fixes promised by the GM banana and GM cowpea is definitely not the way to go for us in Africa. So I've really come here to share our vehement opposition, our vociferous criticism against GM crops, and to ask you for your support to campaign or to at least engage with, and I know that there's been engagement by activists with Day and others, but I think that we must ask them to stop this research, and we must ask them to do better research that's demand-driven, that Africans have asked for, and not an imperialist agenda imposed on us in Africa that we don't want. So I'm going to leave it there because I'd like to also give my fellow panelists a chance to speak, and I can always take some questions later. Thank you very much.